Welcome to this video, round 12 of the candidates tournament, and this is the game of the tournament leader and heavy favorite to qualify for the desired spot to challenge Magnus Carlsen. Ex-world champion Vichy Anand playing white against Dimitri Andreikin playing black. Yeah, how's the situation before the game? Anand is cruising with +3, nicely leading the tournament, and Andreikin is on -1 if I'm not mistaken, so he has very little chances to do anything. For Anand, this is a game that he absolutely shouldn't lose. It would be brilliant to win, and the draw is certainly perfectly okay. So he's I guess in a mood like try a little bit, but don't do it without don't do it with taking too much risks. Let's see what happens in the game. Andreikin playing the Caro Kann. This I need to think about that. Had he played it before in the event? I'm not sure actually. It is part of his repertoire. It's not like a huge surprise, but he had played mostly the Sicilian before. Yeah, Vichy is playing knight c3. He's one of the players that is still regularly going for this classical approach. Nowadays, the advanced variation, of course, with e5 is absolutely the main line of the Caro Kann. And of course, Anand has played a lot of games with that, with various lines. The short variation with knight f3 and knight c3 and everything. But he always had knight c3 in his repertoire, the classical way to play. And it's of course not a bad way to play. Quite often you can you will find that lines that are named the classical something, there is quite a lot classical stuff, the classical Sicilian, the classical Slav, the classical whatever. These are pretty much evergreen lines that you can always play, and they have some life to it, some ideas to it. So it's good to be playing the classics sometimes. Okay, so we have the bishop f5 line, the main line, and here in this position black has a choice. There is the absolute main move of knight d7 here, widely accepted as the most precise actually, after which this is the normal continuation. Andreikin played it differently though. He played the move e6. Yeah, this is an interesting line that I have analyzed myself some time ago. The idea is that black is not willing to put the knight on d7 yet, but he wants to, if possible, put the knight on c6. The idea is that if white now continues as he does in the main line, something like that, black can actually play c5 and a quick knight to c6. And this is immediately giving him very satisfactory play. I've got a very sound structure. The light squared bishop is gone. It's just very nice. It's not like it's completely without any problems or whatever, but it's very okay for black. This move order, however, has a disadvantage, and this is what Anand is playing: knight e5. Pushing the bishop back, and now bishop d3. Yeah, here's a little trap. Of course, black cannot capture on d4. After knight takes f7, he's losing instantly. So black basically has to take on d3, queen takes, now knight d7. Yeah, and here we see the big difference to other lines. White gets in the move f4. Yeah, and this is just my opinion, a pretty nice structure for white. He's got this knight on e5, which is just a very annoying piece to keep as black. And I mean, it's always annoying. What I'm trying to say is for black to face this piece on e5, and you basically cannot really take it ever, as it is so nicely supported by the pawns. White has just a nice advantage in space. Yeah, well, he played the check here on b4, which is the normal way to proceed. It has two ideas. One idea is that exchanges should help black in defending. So a move like bishop d2 is sometimes played, but
Check.
the exchange is something that probably black welcomes, as he has little space for his pieces, and getting one pair of pieces off is probably okay. c3 played by Anand, bishop e7 back, and now bishop d2, simply keeping all pieces on the board. Knight f6, long castles. By the way, this here is not to be recommended. It's simply a bit too risky to capture this. One simple thing is that after white takes here, you need to take with the king, which looks entirely ridiculous. So nothing that black wants to try. Knight f6, as mentioned, long castles and short castle. Yeah, and this in fact is a position that we had in the World Championship match between Anand and Carlsen. Anand was playing white, Carlsen black. He surprisingly had played the Caro Kann. And here in this position, Anand played the move knight e4 in the World Championship match. And Andreikin was playing right into that. So it's basically asking Anand, okay, you had this in your match. What exactly have you prepared now? This was played, as mentioned, in the match. And after all this, Carlsen had a pretty good position with good equalizing chances. They, in fact, relatively quickly agreed to draw after the queen trade. Anand's move here was indeed much stronger. He played queen to f3, which had been played before, even years ago. And it keeps more pieces on the board simply. Queen c7 and now c4, which is also a good move to play, grabbing space, controlling d5, possibly allowing the bishop to come to c3. Black played a5. Yeah, this is a typical move in this structure to gain some space on the queen side. We see that after the king move here, rook d8, bishop c1, prophylactic move. Black even pushes a4. And this has been played before, exactly that. a4, however, is a new move. There was a game between Topalov and the strong Russian grandmaster Alexei Dreyev, a great expert in the Caro Kann, with rook f2 e8 in the New Delhi Tehran. Tehran. How do you actually pronounce that? Tehran, the capital of Iran. Yeah, I don't really know. Well, it was the World Championship 2000, and here Topalov got a pretty quick and dangerous attack with knight e2 and this g4, g5 move. In general, this is the main problem that black faces in this structure. There's this g4, g5 pawn roller, and it's not so easy to get a direct counterplay going. And I'm not really sure. Andreikin's move is maybe a bit more active. But still, I must admit that I don't like black's position at all. When I had looked at this years ago, I liked those ideas with a quick c5 and knight to c6. But this type of position I always disliked as black. Simply because, I mean, I'm not playing, if you look at my game, I'm not playing against those top level GMs. I'm playing against a wide range of opponents. And I always pictured myself sitting there as black as against someone who's maybe rated like 200 points lower, so still good players, but players that I should somehow score against. And white has a ready-made plan. You just move your knight somewhere, and then you push g4, g5, and you get an attack. Pretty much automatic attack. And I simply didn't like this prospect, as absolutely even someone with very low level of chess understanding can fight this plan. So white's plan is very much apparent here, while it's not so clear to me what black is doing. In fact, the g4, g5 push didn't materialize in this game, but it always felt very annoying to me. And yeah, I never liked black's position much, so it feels a bit difficult for me to really advise how black should play. Yeah, well, a3 is what Andreikin played, provoking b3, and now bishop to b4. So he pushed the pawn all the way to a3 to provoke some weaknesses. In fact, the white king is slightly loose here. There's no doubt about it. He has played c4 and b3. While black has a pretty compact pawn shield in the head of the king. This is quite safe. Huh? Okay, but we see that after rook e3, now Andreikin played in a very direct manner, and I think this is probably mistimed, but very difficult. He played now c5, and this seems to already give white a pretty decent position, at least with the push d5. Yeah, this is quite apparent. What else is there? White needs to push the d pawn. It seems that, by the way, that he probably should have waited a bit longer with rook e8, but I cannot really tell if this is great. I mean, should you really just always stay as black and don't do much? I mean, I play rook here, knight e2 and g4, and I really don't see what black is doing against that. He probably needs to time the c5 move somewhat better, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really. I'm not an expert on this opening. I feel a bit overwhelmed to suggest something. What he did, c5, led to trouble. This is clear. Anand pushed d5, ed5, and now just cd5. Here in this position, in fact, the recapture is automatic, and Anand took like 4 seconds for it. But here, in fact, the computer points out an interesting move, which pretty much shocked me, as cd5 looks completely normal. And it's not a bad move, but the computer is suggesting knight to f5, giving white a pretty good position. And it's quite remarkable that this seems to be true. At first you think this is totally ridiculous. Why not d4 now, giving me a protected passer? Yeah, but white is just replying rook e2, just quite simple. And how is black defending now against g4 and g5? The computer already gives white a substantial advantage, and I must agree, I mean, this is a very, very dangerous attack. It looks completely crazy to allow this structure. I mean, it's somewhat unrelated to other things happening, why this should work. But the knight on f5 is just so strong. It's very, very difficult to play this position, even as black. If you give the computer some time, it gets to enormous advantages, like more than one of a pawn. So probably d4 isn't the real defense here. Maybe black can take, but even that is very, very dangerous for black. The simple recapture, for example, can lead to lots of problems. There is still g4, g5. There is something coming to a7. Even rook e7 might be a move. Yeah. What happens if black, for instance, plays b5 very directly? Yeah, white can also just take the pawn here. And the computer is giving white a big advantage, probably based on this knight alone. But it's not a very human move to play. I just want to point it out that sometimes things that look completely normal, like c takes d5, can be improved upon. Yeah, knight b6 looks normal, and white covers d5. It was attacked 3 times. Yeah, and here in this position, I believe that Andreikin plays. He makes a mistake, and that's the move queen to c8. It seems that here, white has an obvious idea. He wants to push d6. And it seems that black has to prevent that in this position by simply taking on d5. It's not a happy move to play, probably, because you don't want to give up the 2 knights. But this here is probably what needed to be done. And it leads to a position where I think that white is somewhat better, but it's certainly a playable position for black. Let's say here, and rook d1. This is the point, really. You need this counterplay on the first rank. Sometimes there's rook g1 attacking this pawn, or you can, at the moment, you threaten here even. And yeah, well, you can maybe sometimes activate the queen via d8, attacking here, and so on. It's a position which is probably somewhere between being somewhat better for white and black having enough counterplay. But we are not talking about, yeah, well, you could do that, you could do that. You must take it, really, as d6 is such a big threat. And this is what Andreikin ignored in the game. He played queen c8 and Vichy pushed d6. And here we are already in territory that is very, very favorable for white. Maybe I think we are in areas where if you give this position, the white position, to a machine, it will simply kill you, because the play gets enormously tactical quite quickly. And this is due to the fact that white has enormous active potential. Knight on e5, possibilities for these knight jumps, the d pawn. He's got every piece in play geared towards the center and the king side. But on the other hand, white has a somewhat open king that sometimes gives counterplay. Yeah, Andreikin now played the move rook to e8, which is not the best defense according to a computer, but I think it's a perfectly normal human move. What should you do? Computer gives c4 as the tougher defense, but I don't really see it, to be honest. After white taking, you didn't really gain much. You can play bishop c5, for example, getting the bishop into play. But white can, if everything else fails, I'm going to play knight e4 and still have this option left. Black is probably going to take rook here, and I'm dropping back. I just have a pawn extra, and I'm going to play d7, which is almost impossible to prevent. It's not really a better defense than rook e8. So rook e8, and now yeah, there's more than one good move, but Anand played the best move, really. Knight to h5. This is the most aggressive and forcing move. Yeah, now rook e6 played. Other defenses are not really better. For example, if you take and you are now faced with this threat, something like queen e6, d7, rook e7, rook d6 is fairly embarrassing, trapping the queen. Okay, I can put this on the board, sorry. Oh no, sorry. My notes are very confusing for myself. What was it? Queen e6 here. Okay, queen e6 here you can also look at. There white can play d7. And after takes. White can even take here and play the funny move f5 and gets an absolutely deadly attack. The queen is attacked, and if it covers the rook, it should cover the rook, there's f6 coming. And, something like this is simply disastrous. It's just a great attack. Yeah, it at the end, Andreikin played rook e6. It's as good as any defense. Yeah, here Vichy now took on f6, which is
check,
which keeps a winning advantage. This is clear. But here, I mean, this is clear is a nice sentence to say. It's clear from the further course of the game if you analyze it. It's not like completely apparent or anything. However, in this position, he had a direct knockout, which probably would have prompted Andreikin to resign in a couple of moves. He could have played the move d7, and this is completely decisive. We can look at some lines. Very easy is this, for example.
Check.
Just winning a piece with no compensation, counterplay whatsoever. Black cannot take with that. If you take with the knight, I mean the other knight, white is going to play queen to g4. Yeah, this is, I think, rather apparent. So you always need to have an idea why it wasn't played. This is what I'm trying to find out here. Queen g3 even is also good. I had queen g3 in my analysis, I believe. Let me check. I'm doing most of it out of my head, but sometimes I need to check it. Yeah, this is what I was analyzing. And now g6. There is no other move. And now f5. And this is basically deciding immediately. Black must take. There's nothing else. And here white has a choice. He can play the computer move, rook d6, threatening rook g6, which is like completely over, plus 20 or something. Or you can play the human move, which is easy to calculate. Just take here and check. Regain the material, being an exchange up and a completely winning position. This is in fact quite easy. So after d7 it was relatively clear, I believe, that black cannot take with both pieces, so the queen must move. Yeah, well, b7, b8 or c7 doesn't make much of a difference for the lines. Yeah, this. And now there is a very strong move that maybe Anand overlooked. Maybe. I'm just speculating. There is more than one good move, actually. But there is one complete killer move. This is f5 here. And the point is that after rook takes, there is knight f6. Check. Takes, bishop h6. And this pawn is completely tying all moves, all pieces up. And white is now just winning here on the king side. Completely over. This is even a mate forced. Mate in 8 or something. Yeah, and you got this mate coming up. It's a complete disaster. If black takes with the queen, there is rook e3 and the queen is trapped. These kind of moves are very tough to see in advance. By the way, if you don't see rook e3, you can also just take here and check. Not queen f5. Better do that. And now any normal move like that is just winning the game. You are an exchange up and you have the deadly d7 pawn. I'm sorry. So this was a complete killer, d7. It's not super difficult to find those stuff, but the thing is, if you look at this as a white player, it's pretty clear. You know that you're winning the game now. You know that there is a win, and you calculate lines, and you see a line that you believe that wins. You can, of course, invest even more time and try to find a line that is even more winning, but you need to move at some stage. So I guess Anand had calculated what he had seen and thought, okay, this is winning. And he's right with that. It's just not so directly winning. He took rook takes and d7. Quite comparable, of course, but it's not that deadly. Queen here and queen g4. This is probably what he had seen. The idea is the rook lift to g3, going for a mate on g7. Yeah, and Andreikin defended in the best possible manner. He pushed c4, rook g3, g6, and h5. Yeah, it looks overwhelming, doesn't it? Yeah, and in fact it is. Black now took, rook takes, knight a4. The absolute only way to get at least some kind of counterplay with knight c3, and simply the best possible defense that could have been played. Yeah, now Anand took on g6. Black must recapture. And now he simply took the bishop. So he was accepting this sacrifice and allowed the knight c3 check, which was black's counterplay idea. So this was also completely fine. King c2. Yeah, and now the simple line is if black just takes here, which is losing instantly and also easily. This is the main point. White just plays this. Queen here, and now white takes here. And this means that white is winning very easily with queen to d5. There's rook c8, and black does not really have any counterplay. White's king is looking a bit airy, but there is no real attack. So this wasn't a defense that Andreikin could seriously consider. He played a b5, which is by far the best practical chance in this position. This is quite clear. King b3 played. Again, very good move by Anand. And now knight a4. Yeah, and in this position, I believe Anand could have played better. He had 12 minutes on the clock in this obviously complicated position. But okay, white is a piece up. Don't forget that. White is a piece up. And I think he had a move that could end the game again with bishop to d2. This is probably winning. But the point is, you can so easily say, oh, this is winning, okay, but you still need to calculate the lines with a couple of minutes on the clock. If you consider that,
check.
knight c5 check, I'm just going to show you what kind of tricks there are. King takes, yeah, of course. This was the idea. Queen a5 check.
Check.
Only move. And now rook a8. Yeah, last ditch attempt for counterplay. So what should white do now? It's not so clear cut. Look at this. This is a big threat. And can you defend against that actually? Yeah, you can. But or you can. By the way, let's do it this way. This is even a bit tougher. The rook should be still be on d8 to block it. Yeah, here white only has one move, a4, which is probably what you can see beforehand. It's not rocket science, but look at this. I'm going to take this. King c2. Okay. I mean, must be played. Yeah. Going here. I don't know if you want to face this idea. Just to show what's in the position. King c2, and now black can even give another check.
Check.
Need to go here, and
check.
This. Yeah, well, you need to calculate this beforehand and judge that this is not decisive. In fact, white can defend with exactly this setup and will win. But it's not completely trivial to calculate 7 or 8 moves beforehand. This is always there's always some trickery going on. So Anand didn't go for bishop d2. It seems to win outright, really. Black has no not much more than what I just showed to you. He played the move queen to f3, which looks also perfectly logical. Covering c3, this counterplay square, getting the queen involved, and also going for queen d5 if possible. It also controls a8. This is also useful. So very understandable move. And in fact, it keeps a winning position. I'm not saying that it is bad or anything, but bishop d2 was a bit clearer. Yeah, now Andreikin played knight c5 check, of course. Anand played king c2. There is nothing else.
Check.
The check again. Went to b3.
Check.
Check again. Went to c2.
Check.
Knight a4. So now we have the position 2 times. But what Anand did was, of course, a very professional decision. He repeated the position 2 times, and now we are on move 41. So the time trouble was over, and now Anand could take some time to decide how to proceed. Obviously, a very, very critical moment, as he can play king b3, and it's an instant draw because of repetition of moves. And he basically has the chance to now play a move and continue, or take the draw. If you consider the tournament situation, a draw is perfectly alright, as he's leading the tournament very comfortably. And basically, three draws means he's got the qualification in the bag. So a draw is perfectly okay. However, if he would win the game, it's almost, I mean, let's say with the draw, he's like 80% qualified. With a win, it's like 99% almost. Then he would almost need to lose the remaining 2 games, which seems pretty strange idea. So he very much likes to win the game, of course. After quite a long think, Anand in fact played king b3 to get the draw. So a disappointing way somewhat to end the game. And nevertheless, how to assess the position. It's very easy to claim that he should have played on. It's really easy to do so, because well, nowadays you have those computer things, and they will tell you white is totally winning in this position. But it is a completely different thing to actually calculate and play this. Especially considering the tournament situation. I'm absolutely certain if we would be in the first round of the tournament or in any other tournament where the situation is somewhat less promising with a draw, he would have maybe invested even more time and tried to find a win, because it smells like there is a win for white very clearly, but it's not completely easy, of course. I'm going to show you now how white could have won the game, but it's far from trivial. Let's start first with the human way to play, and this might win, but it's not completely easy. This would be king d2, queen to d6 check. Knight d3. By the way, here the move, yeah, king c2, but this makes sense. You can even go here, actually. At least this is what the computer is telling me, but what kind of line is that? Yeah, it might be winning, but I'll show you a human line, yeah? What really was certainly considered.
Check.
Queen d2, the check, knight to d3 to block the check and cover the rook, and then something like that. Rook to f7. Let's say king e1 and the capture. We have a position where white is still a piece up, but look at the position. It's not easy to assess. You cannot move the knight at the moment as the rook is hanging. What exactly is white's move? There is knight c3 in the mix. Let's say, I don't know, what kind of move should I play? Computer gives rook d2 as the best move, just to show you what kind of crazy stuff the computer would come up with. If I take it here, for example, I'm going to jump here, rook here, I'm giving a check. And now here, let's use pressure on d3. White's position is not coordinated, really. You shouldn't underestimate that. White is in some of a strange spot here. The pieces are somewhat tied together. The rook to the knight. There's huge pressure on the d-file, and this knight is always ready to join in. This is a computer that this is a position that a computer is giving +2 and says, "Oh, I'm winning, no problem." But play this and assess this beforehand. It's very tricky to do. Very tricky to do. I think Anand in the press conference just said, "Okay, I know he's got I'm a piece up, but he's got 2 rooks and the queen still. They're all active, and there's a knight starting to jump around, and he couldn't assess it quite reliably. So he said, okay, a draw is perfectly fine for my tournament situation." Now we go to the area of completely inhuman chess. What is exactly the win here? And the win is rook c4. This is the direct win, which completely kills black, but it's not like it's totally apparent, this move. Okay, black takes. What else? And now there are 2 moves winning, but they're both not very trivial. Bishop a3 is the first one. The intention is bishop to e7. White is now playing an exchange down, but he's got, of course, the pawn here. But bishop e7 is a very substantial threat. Queen b6 is the toughest defense, intending queen b2 checkmate if the bishop moves. And then the best is the queen check, king moves, and queen takes. And this seems to be a win for white. But this is far from trivial again. Black can, for instance, give this check. Yeah, and what are you going to do now? You're going to play rook d2? Yeah, maybe this is even winning. Maybe this is even winning. Black can take here. Yeah, it's still not so easy to assess. The cleanest win or quickest win from a computer perspective is actually knight to g4. And this leads to some completely crazy lines. I can show you one of them. Rook to d6. And now the killer move is queen e4. Rook d1.
Check.
Check on g6. Takes,
Check.
takes,
Check.
check. And sorry, it's here. And here white has a move that is completely unhuman. F5, and F5 is winning completely. If you give it to a machine, it will jump to +20 or so after a while, which looks totally crazy, but it's really the case. White threatens knight f6 with a devastating attack, and black has absolutely no defense to that. It's really crazy. For example, rook d6,
Check.
check, king f7, and now just bishop a3. Yeah, and there's no defense.
Check. Check. Check.
White is mopping up the rest of the position. It's of course entirely impossible to calculate anything like that. I mean, we're still talking about real people here. No one is going to calculate the capture here and then knight g4. I mean, maybe, but right here you're simply out of it. You're never going to think of queen e4 and f5. I mean, this is completely crazy. What I in fact believe, on a very good day and with the complete determination to, in a must-win situation, let's put it like that, I think maybe Anand can do that. This is feels pretty realistic to me, at least. But I entirely understand the rationale behind that. You're leading the tournament. A loss that can easily happen if you bungle up the calculation of this complicated stuff. A loss is fatal, while a draw is perfect, almost. Let's say the win is perfect, but the draw is like 90%. So a very understandable decision to wrap the game up with the draw. A bit disappointing. It would have been a fantastic achievement if he would have won it. Actually, he played an excellent game up to that point. It's still one of the best games that Anand played in this event. Really a great attacking performance. But yeah, unfortunately he didn't manage. Also, don't forget the black player in this game. It's all about white, but I mean it's to after this. I mean, you know that you're on the ropes in this type of position here, d7, and it's all like coming down to you like an avalanche of an attack. And he put up the best possible resistance and was awarded with the draw. In fact, Andreikin is not playing a really bad tournament. I mean, he is on paper one of the outsiders, and he's doing quite alright with the -1 score at the moment. So to sum it up, Vichy is still in excellent shape to qualify. He missed the chance there, but it's not like it was like a clear-cut win or whatever. It was a very complicated position that that wasn't like an easy win or anything. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the game. It was a very interesting one. Thanks for watching.